morning, everyone, and welcome to our first webinar of 2024 covering member additional charges. We're super excited to have you here today, and thank you for joining us after a nice long break. We hope that everyone enjoyed their winter holidays and are ready to jump right back into it. If you are a current ClubExpress customer and you have thoughts on ClubExpress, we would love to hear them. So if you could pop over to clubexpress.com/reviews, pick any one of the sites that you see there and leave us a review. Your reviews help us learn what we're doing right, what we can change, and it helps other customers determine if ClubExpress is going to be a good fit for them. So if you have a few minutes, we'd love to hear from you. All right, finally, let's dive into our topic. So, additional charges are items that are built into your site. It's not an extra feature that you have to pay for or enable. It's a feature that's built into every ClubExpress website. These additional charges are items that you can add to membership sign up, the membership renewal process, both of them. You can also just expect your members to maybe pop through their member profile and add a quick charge to their account, and we'll take a look at how to do that too. Now, when you think about sign up and renewal, you're usually thinking about the standard membership dues that might be due at that time, maybe some chapter fees that are involved there, but there are plenty of other additional charges that may need to be applied to a member when they're signing up or when they're renewing that aren't necessarily part of those sign up fees. They may vary. They may vary based on the member type of who's signing up. So there are a lot of reasons why you may need to create essentially an ad hoc charge to add into either of those processes. And we have a couple of different examples on the screen here to kind of give you an idea of the types of charges that we're talking about. With additional charges, you can configure those charges to be required or optional. You can pair them with specific member types. So maybe your trial members never see something like an initiation fee, and you only see certain things when someone renews. For required charges, we have some examples like an initiation fee, or for active organizations, you might have a storage locker that you're requiring all of your members to maintain. For optional charges, you might see things like a name badge or a club mug. You previously may have added in something like a donation, but with our recent updates, one thing that we're going to go through today is how you pair that donation charge with an actual donation fund on your website. And you can also include charges for just specific member types. So if you have family memberships or business memberships that you want to apply separate charges to, for example, if you have a sponsor member type and you want to include the option to purchase a sponsor banner to use at events, or perhaps you're maybe an aging in place village and you want to add in a background check fee, those might be charges that are paired with a specific member type, like a sponsor or a volunteer member type. So we're going through and we're going to do a few different things in today's demonstration. We're going to configure a handful of charges. We're going to configure some optional and required charges. And we're also going to add in a charge that pairs with one of our donation funds. We're going to do all of that as an administrator. Then we're going to configure access to those questions. We're going to decide when they appear, who they appear for, and all of the all of the ways that members might access those questions. And finally, we'll actually apply and use those charges. So we'll see where they come up for members during that sign up and renewal process. And we'll also take a look at how members might go through their member profile. Let's say if they decide they want to purchase something after they've already signed up, but before they're ready to renew. So with that being said, let me go ahead and switch gears here. All right, I am currently on our demo site. I'm logged in as Martin Smith. Martin Smith is just a regular administrator of the Northwest Balloon Club, so he has access to everything on the back end of his site. And that includes, excuse me, so sorry about that. And that includes our control panel. So I'm going to go ahead and click our control panel link at the top right-hand corner of our screen here. And I'm going to navigate to the People tab. So the People tab, for those of you who maybe are a little bit new to ClubExpress, the People tab and all of our tabs are where you're going to find all of those back office functions and features, all of your databases, your setup items, and it's where you're going to set up and configure modules. So the control panel is a treasure trove of options for administrators. We have plenty of tutorials that cover all of the things that you're able to do from the control panel. So we highly recommend you take a quick look at those. In the People tab, we're going to be focused on additional charges right down here in the Setup section. So just to give you a quick, brief overview, the Setup section includes items that you are likely touching maybe quite a bit when you are setting up your website. But as the life of your website goes on, you might be touching those less and less as time goes on. So, for example, you probably configure all of your member types right at the start when you signed up with ClubExpress, and maybe you don't add a new member type for several more years. The same might be true with additional charges. So, you likely configured a lot of your additional charges when you first signed up with ClubExpress so that your sign up process was ready to go for your members when your website launched. But of course, you can always make changes to those. You can always add new charges and make those new charges available to new members and even renewing members. So our additional charges screen looks really similar to a lot of the screens that you might see on the back end of your ClubExpress website. We usually have a handful of buttons at the top, and we also have a grid displaying all of the additional charges that we've already configured. At the top, the buttons allow me to add a new charge or change the display sequence. This is another standard button that you might see across your ClubExpress site, and that's going to allow you to change the order in which these charges might appear for members signing up or renewing in their wizard. I want to take a look at some of the charges that we've set up already and kind of talk about what we're seeing on the grid here so that we can familiarize ourselves with that. On the left-hand side is the name of the charge. So this is a name that's going to be visible both to you as the admin and to the member who is signing up. Your price for that charge, whether or not the charge is adjustable. So another thing that you can do is create a fixed price extra charge or a variable price or adjustable price extra charge. So if someone wanted to maybe add in an additional amount as money back to the club, they can change those individual items. In this case, we've added in the option to donate a little bit extra to cover our credit card fees. Whether or not the additional charge is active. So in this column, you'll see, and you'll probably be familiar with the fact that because these charges obviously have, potential transactions associated with them, you aren't able to delete them once they've been applied to a person. So once someone decides that they want a coffee mug and they have added that charge to their account, you're no longer able to delete that. And you see that in a lot of other spaces across your ClubExpress site. Usually items that have a charge or a fee associated with them aren't items that you can easily just delete from your site. So that's why you see that active column where we can quickly see that there are a bunch of charges that are not currently being displayed to new members or to renewing members. And in the right-hand column is our trusty maintain column. So if you're ever taking a look at our maintain column, you'll see a bunch of icons. You're not always quite sure what they do. You can, of course, hover over the icon and you'll get a little tooltip that pops up to tell you what it's for. You can also hover over the legend, and that gives you a breakdown of any of the icons that you might see here. So let's take a look first at our initiation fee. And I'm going to click this edit icon. I want to take a look at how some of these charges have been set up so we can really take a look at the options that we have here. First, our initiation fee. It's currently active. So we have our title and description. Both of these items will be visible to the member who's signing up or renewing. This charge is active, so this is the checkbox that we would come back into the charge and uncheck if we wanted that charge to essentially disappear. If we wanted that charge to no longer be available for members or for members who are signing up or renewing. Next up, the price for that charge. Our initiation fee is a fixed price of $50. So that means that when someone's signing up, that fee is going to be added to their transaction as $50. They won't be able to increase it or decrease it. Perhaps if you wanted to introduce, pay what you can fees with your organization, you might make this initiation fee an adjustable price. And if that's the case, you can still enter in a suggested price. But if your member maybe can't afford the initiation fee, they're able to adjust that and pay what they can. We'll go ahead and change that back to fixed. Next up is your availability. And this is where things can get really detailed and really interesting. In our case, we only want new members, not renewing members, to pay their initiation fee. Now, let's take a look at what our options actually are. We could have made this optional for new members, but as it is an initiation fee, we're going to want to make this required. But you'll also see that underneath that, under renewals, we went ahead and selected not available. So with new member signups or renewals, you have the exact same options as to whether or not it's optional or required and whether or not it's available even, meaning do they even see that as an available charge on their account? So in our case, our initiation fee is a fixed fee so far that's only going to apply to new members signing up. Next up, we've selected that it only applies to specific member types, which if you'll take a look at the sort of grayed out page behind me, you'll see that there are only a couple of charges that have this member types indicator, meaning that those charges are only applied to specific member types. This is one of those. And in this case, we weren't charging the initiation fee for trial members and a couple of other member types. So we go ahead and say that we only want to apply it to specific member types, and we make that distinction later. Next up, is the charge visible to the member or the administrator only? So if the member is able to add the charge to their account, or if only the administrator sees that charge when the admin is going through the sign up renewal process. And we'll talk about both of those when we talk about applying those charges a little bit later. Next up is our quantity. So in the case of physical items, for example, a mug or a badge, you might leave that quantity as an adjustable quantity. There's a minimum that someone can add to their cart, and there's a maximum, or not so much a cart, there's a minimum that someone can add and a maximum that someone can add. So in our case, it is just a one-time fee. We aren't going to allow that to be adjustable. But like I said, for physical items, that's something that you might want to keep in mind, allowing the member to add multiple items to their cart at one time. The last section, is this a donation? We're going to keep that checked as no. We're going to talk about donations in the next couple of charges. And last, let's talk about our financial account. So our financial account is normally going to default to that master membership dues. So keep in mind with the different charges that you're adding, if you really want them to be associated with the membership dues financial account, or if these are charges that you on your organization side would want to categorize a different way. If you aren't familiar with what our financial accounts might be used for, go ahead and check out some of our tutorials on our YouTube channel. Financial accounts can be really, really useful for boosting your reporting capabilities with built-in ClubExpress reports. So if that's your cup of tea, we highly recommend that you take a look at that tutorial. For this case, we're going to leave the default financial account selected for membership dues. We want all of these charges that are designated as these initiation fee charges to technically be categorized as part of membership dues. While they're not actually part of the membership due, we haven't rolled that into the membership charge. We want that to be categorized in our reports under the same umbrella. And finally, whether or not we'll charge sales tax. Those sales tax options are coming from our money tab and sales tax screens. So if you are looking for the spot where you want to add in your sales tax, that's going to be in your money tab. I'll go ahead and cancel out of this screen since I haven't made any changes. But if I was adding in all of my options, I'd go ahead and click save. But because this is a charge where I am making it available for only specific member types, I still have an additional step to do. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of this so we can take a look at what that final step looks like when I'm applying the charge to member types. You'll only see this icon if you have enabled that option for only specific member types. So you'll see that none of the others have it. I'll go ahead and click that option, and I can see just a quick list of all of my member types. I can check off each of the individual types that this charge applies to, check or uncheck all of them very quickly. You'll see that, just common sense, we're only using these for individual and family memberships that are regular memberships. So we aren't charging initiation fees for staff members, for sponsors, local businesses, students, or trial members. Now, some additional charges that we've configured that perhaps we have removed would be our name badge. If we take a look at our name badge charge, we've added in for a fixed charge for everyone, and this applies to all member types. So before we were using this, before when we were using this charge and it was active, this would be available for every single person, and it was required for new members, but optional for renewals. So if you do really want everyone in your organization to have a badge for when they come to your in-person meetings, you can go ahead and make that a required charge. Some of the last options that we'll kind of take a look at today would be our sponsor banner fee and our repair donation fund. So let's take a look at our sponsor fee. This will have some of the same options that we've added in for those specific member type charges. We have an active charge that is optional for both new members and renewals. So we give sponsors the option to purchase that banner at any time. Now, you'll also see that we can make this a recurring charge so that it comes up every single time someone renews, as opposed to just one option for them. Now, let's take a look at one of our newest features, which is the ability to finally pair a donation fund on your website with a donation that someone might add in at sign up. So this is something that a lot of our customers have asked for in the past. So we're finally really excited to be able to show it to you. In our case, we have a donation fund that is set up on our site using donations. So, if you are not familiar with donations and you want to maybe take a quick brush up on it, we highly recommend that you go ahead and register for our webinar at the end of the month. We're going to be talking about donations in a lot of detail. So, it'll kind of add in that last component for you, and then you can pair it with what you see here today. We can add in our description. This charge is an active charge. In our case, we have made the price adjustable. Because this is a donation, we can certainly add in a recommended donation of $5, but that ultimately will be up to the member who is signing up or renewing. You'll see here that we've made this available to everyone. It applies to all of our member types. We're going to obviously allow everyone and anyone to send us a donation, and it is visible to everyone. We're only going to add in a single donation for each person who is completing this sign up or renewal process. It's not a physical item, so we aren't going to make that quantity an adjustable quantity. Underneath that, we have our simple question: is this a donation? In our previous examples, you saw that we left that blank and kept it selected as no. In this case, we've selected yes, that this is a donation. And from there, you get a drop-down menu of any of the active funds on your website. In our case, we have just 2 active donation funds. We selected our Repair Clubhouse Roof Fund. The remaining questions are the same. We chose, instead of classifying this as part of membership dues, because it's a donation, ultimately, we want these funds to be categorized as a donation on our reports. So we have added in master donations as the financial account. Now, of course, that is entirely up to you. Your organization's finances and the way you organize them are something that you come up with your own board and your own group. These are just the options that we're showing you are available. So if you do determine that you would rather have donations that are made using these additional charges to be classified a different way, you can certainly change that. So we have our initial setup here of some additional charges that members can add in to their accounts during sign up or renewal. But let's take a look at the remaining admin steps that we have here so that we can make sure that all of these charges are going to appear where we want them to be. I'm going to pop back into the control panel. We're still hanging out in the People tab. And the first and kind of most obvious step would be we want to make sure that they're going to appear in new member sign up and renewal. So in the admin functions of the People tab, I'll go ahead and click new member sign up. And before I sort of dive into the instruction, we'll give a really brief overview of the sign up setup screen that you're seeing here. We do have other tutorials and webinars that go through configuring your sign up and renewal wizard, but we'll just give a brief overview. On the left-hand side, you'll see everything that you can include in the sign up and renewal wizard. On the right-hand side, you see when and where you want those items to be included. So on the right-hand side, we have 5 columns that are separated into a couple of categories. The first would be new member sign up wizard, when a new member is signing up, whether it's the member who's signing themselves up or the admin who's doing it for them. Next is your renewal wizard. Again, whether the member is renewing themselves or if it's the administrator who is renewing them. Then finally, First Login. First Login is a really cool feature that allows you to configure a sort of special sign-up wizard for members who are logging into your site for the first time. That's great for organizations who maybe do a lot of admin entered membership signups, sort of forcing the member to go back and look at their additional data, their contact information. All of those things are really helpful to keep clean data in your database. In our case, for demonstration purposes, we unchecked a lot of the boxes so that we can kind of go through this a little bit quickly. But in every case, all of the grayed out checkboxes are items that you can't uncheck, you can't skip. You're going to have to be able to include those. But for our new member sign up, we just included some additional information for chapters, and we've added in our additional charges option for each of our sign up options. So this covers a member signing up or an administrator signing up the member. It also covers the member renewing and the administrator renewing the member. You'll notice that it's not available for first login. There are a couple of other items that are not available for first login. That is because first login assumes that these items were previously taken care of as part of perhaps a data upload or as part of an administrator adding in those options. So once we have checked off all of the boxes where we want them for additional charges, we'll go ahead and save those changes. In my case, I'm just going to cancel out of this since I haven't made any changes. Now, the next thing that we want to kind of take a think about is not just members adding in those charges when they sign up for the first time or when they renew once a year or once every so many months, whatever your renewal schedule might be. They may decide mid-membership, I actually do want a sponsor banner. Perhaps someone signs up a few months before you announce a big conference that you have annually, and maybe your sponsor members didn't know about that. You have to sort of maybe think about ways that your members can access those optional charges if they want to. And the way that you can do that is through the member profile. But an additional thing that you want to make sure that you do check off is whether or not members are charged for changes they make through their profile. So in our setup section, in people options, we have gone through our people options items in previous webinars. So we talked a lot about membership options in our last few webinars of 2023. So if you are interested in learning about all of the features that you see on this screen, highly recommend that you take a look at our people options webinar. It goes through a lot of this in great detail. For our case, all we are doing is focusing on one specific item. If we are charging for membership changes made through the profile, we've selected yes. Now, this doesn't just include additional charges that members might want to add to their account. It also includes potentially adding in new chapter selections, adding additional secondary or tertiary members if there's a charge for those as well. So keep in mind that if those things are available for members to do during their membership outside of sign up and renewal, you'll want to make sure that you are capturing those charges. Now, now that we have gotten a bunch of our ducks in a row, before we sort of move on, I want to take a quick view of Martin Smith's member profile while we're here, because the next thing that we're going to do is go through and actually sign up to see what some of those charges look like for a brand new member. But before we do that, while we're here, I'm going to pop into Martin Smith's member profile to show you where those additional charges might be living in the profile. At the bottom left-hand corner, under More Member Options, you'll see one of the second options there, Optional Additional Charges. I'll go ahead and click that. Oh, okay. Well, there's our bug for today. But we'll figure that out in just a moment. Maybe we'll go ahead and switch gears here, and I'll show you what it looks like to add in that charge for a new member signing up. So I have a separate browser open where I'm not logged in as Martin Smith. I'm going to go ahead and click Join Today. So whenever someone clicks that Join Now button on your site, they're going to choose their membership type. We were talking about choosing the membership type and remembering that that may dictate certain charges are available or unavailable for that particular person. I'll go ahead and select Next again, and we'll continue through here. I've got Carol's information still entered, and I'll select Next. Now remember that we added it, or we removed quite a few of the options for this sign up process to kind of keep this a little bit shorter. So here I'm seeing what one of my first screens, which is the option to add a chapter to my sign up or maybe add an additional member. My individual membership doesn't allow for secondary or tertiary members. So I'll go ahead and click Next. I won't need to select a chapter. And finally, I can go ahead and add in my password here. And here is our final screen that we'll reach before we actually see our payment page. So as a member signing up or as a member renewing, the page that you're going to see lists essentially a grid of all of the available charges. You'll see that our initiation fee is added and it's grayed out. So that is a charge that's added to our transaction. You'll see that once we added in that additional initiation fee, our membership cost total is now $50. So the additional charge, or excuse me, is now $90, including that additional charge of $50. So that's our first charge right there. Next up is the optional additional charge for a Clubhouse Repair Fund donation. I can check that off as a member, and because this is an adjustable charge, I can go ahead and change the dollar amount if I'd like to. So I'll go ahead and donate, let's say $25. And now my total updates on the right-hand side. So I can see my total price here is $75 of additional charges. And on the right-hand side, my overall total has updated to $115. I can go ahead and click Next, and now I can see the final breakdown and my summary with a detail of the charges. I have $40 for my sign-up fee, $50 for my initiation fee, and $25 for a Clubhouse repair donation. I will go ahead and say Finish and proceed to payment. Now, as a member, because this is one of our demo sites, I don't have the ability to apply my own payment or add in payment information. So what I'm going to do instead is switch gears one more time and double check this. All right, it looks like everyone is seeing the control panel for our demo club and that I am logged in as Martin Smith in this browser. I've just done that to make it a little bit easier to go through some of these items. So I can go ahead and take a look at that membership in a couple of different ways. Remember that I signed up for the membership, but I haven't actually paid for it as Carol King. So as an admin, as Martin Smith, maybe Carol sent in her payment previously. I can pop into the People Manager, and we'll go ahead and select all because, or we don't need to select all. She is going to be a pending member, so we'll go ahead and search for her. Here's my Carol. And on the right-hand side, we have our payment option. I can view the options that she's added, and I'll go ahead and apply a payment, and we'll just say that we've received cash. Now, the reason that I'd like to apply this payment is because I want to take a look at how these charges will appear in our transaction searches. So in the Money tab, I'm going to take a look at our transaction search and take a look at my paid transactions. We'll go ahead and search here. And let's actually search for Carol. So here's Carol's option. Here's her sign up fee. When we take a look at all of our charges, we have this entire breakdown here. And if we take a look at some of the reports that we've run, let's go ahead and find we have a handful of different ways that we can run these transaction reports. And we talked about our financial accounts at the top of our session when we were setting up some of those additional charges. So in this case, those financial accounts will appear on a handful of different reports. Transactions and payments by account would be the group that you'd want to choose if you wanted to kind of take a look at the breakdown of payments and money that you've received by financial account. So just taking a look at your membership, master membership dues, master donations, different things like that. We'll take a look at user payments by account, and we'll take a look at a breakdown of all of our financial accounts. We could select an individual account if we'd like to. I'm going to take a look at all accounts so that we can see what those will look like. And I am going to choose specific dates here. We'll go back just a couple of months. And we'll go ahead and run our report. So when we're taking a look at our user payments by account, at the very top of any of the headings, you'll see the actual financial account that we're referring to. So in this case, we had some different events that we had added into our site that were all classified under a separate financial account. Now, something important to note here is your donation. So your donation account, which is what we used to identify the additional charge, was added in as a separate line item. So we have Carol's Clubhouse Repair Fund donation as an additional charge. See that it is not a donation like Martin Smith's donation, which was made through the donations page. So while they're all getting classified under the same financial account, and we can see that in the last 2 months in total, we've received $50 to that particular donation fund, we can see that one of those was made during the sign-up process and the other was made just through the website. And if we scroll down just a bit further, we can find our membership dues. So when we take a look at our membership dues for Carol, who has just signed up, we have our additional charge initiation fee. Now, we classified that as a part of membership dues. We didn't want to include it with the membership sign-up charge, but we pulled that out so we can still see the total, but we can see individual line items that cover those charges. Right. I think that covers a lot of the basics. So in the next session, we're going to be talking about our donation funds and how you might set that up. We'll also be sort of revisiting adding a donation option to the sign up and renewal wizard. But remember that these charges don't have to just limit yourself to donation funds or, maybe admin costs that you want to add in. There are a lot of different ways that you might be using additional charges. You can also use them for physical goods. So something to keep in mind. We have had this as a suggestion. I don't know where it is with our dev team, but we have had folks who have asked for items that they might be adding to additional charges to be connected with items in their storefront. That isn't something that we're able to do just now, but we do have that donation connection for you. So, Devin, how are we doing on questions so far?
We're doing good. We've had a couple. A few of them I was able to answer. So one of the earlier questions was, is there a report that shows we have someone who's using additional charges and they're able to see all the people who have purchased an additional charge, but they wanted that up against a list of all of the active members. And I let them know we don't have a report that shows all members and then also breaking out who has and has not paid for an additional charge. But there is a couple ways to achieve that. You could run an all members report and export it as a CSV or an Excel spreadsheet. And then you could run your additional charges report, and then you can connect those in Excel by using a couple fun Excel tricks to get all of your members' names to line up, and then see who has paid for charges kind of in that line using Excel. The other option would be to use ad hoc reporting. So that is an added cost feature, but in ad hoc reporting, you can build your own reports. So you could create an all members report and then add in information about additional charges. There's a lot of capability there, so you could get that information out, but we don't have a report that gives that specific information currently. Another question we had, I think we covered it pretty well, was about the financial accounts, kind of just like a general understanding of what they were. Some people aren't always aware that the financial accounts are built into the system. All of those master financial accounts are kind of hard coded into ClubExpress. So whenever you start up a ClubExpress website, your ClubExpress website comes with those, master donations, master event registrations. All of those financial accounts come built in. You can always add more financial accounts categorized into those master accounts. And then we had some people ask, is there any other functionality tied to that? And there is. So you can also connect bank accounts to those. So if you are an organization that uses the ClubExpress merchant account, the merchant ClubExpress payment processor, and you are an organization that has multiple bank accounts, you can set up financial accounts to point to certain bank accounts. So you could say, we have a specific bank account for all of our event registrations. And so all of those event registrations could be, any payment that goes into those financial accounts could be automatically put into your event bank account. That way it is all kind of like separated and you don't have to worry about moving that money around after the fact. Do keep in mind that if you don't use the ClubExpress payment processor, or if you only have one bank account, then that's not something that is going to be usable. You have to meet both of those criteria in order to be able to point those around. Let's see if we got any new questions. Someone asked, can you set up an additional charge to cover credit card service fees as a flat rate? And plus a percentage. So there's not a way to set an additional charge to be a percentage of an existing fee. Part of the reason for that is there's still a couple states in the US that have some like regulations around who can and cannot pay for credit card service fees. We're that law is kind of getting sunset and things are changing. So we'll probably in the future be able to come up with a better way to handle, who pays for credit card fees. But at this time, you can't use additional charges for that. Yeah, so yeah, that looks like the rest of them are just someone's excited that we're able to finally connect additional charges to donations. And the rest of them are just about the credit card fees. It doesn't look like we have any other questions. I got a couple direct messages, people just really excited about connecting additional charges to donations. And I agree with you. I told Sam in a meeting we were having that it was one of those features that I feel like should have been around, since day one. So finally being able to do that is really exciting for us as well.
We are very pumped. We've been very much looking forward to having this webinar with everyone. So we're excited that some of you were excited too. All right. Well, this is a smaller topic. We really appreciate you hanging around. Our webinars don't always take an hour. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they get a little bit over an hour. So on average, we usually finish around the hour. In this case, I would like to gift everyone 15 minutes to stretch their legs, maybe take a little walk outside. And the next webinar that will be on our schedule will be for the end of the month to cover donations. So we'll certainly be talking about a lot of the things that we talked about today and setting up a donation fund. We'll revisit some financial account information, and we'll hopefully see you all back here in a couple of weeks. Bye, everyone.